The U.S. government is all set to lift a COVID-era immigration policy known as Title 42, which has blocked migrants from certain countries caught at the U.S.-Mexico border from seeking asylum since 2020. The new changes by the U.S. administration to entry rules has raised confusion among prospective migrants waiting to cross the border, as well as state governments across the country bracing for an influx. More details in our next report.
On the 11th of May, one emergency will officially end and another may begin. The Biden administration will officially end the COVID-19 health emergency, which also means the expiration of a pandemic-era practice that began under the Trump administration. Title 42 had ordered immediate expulsion of people trying to cross the border without allowing them to request asylum. With Title 42 expiring, White House officials are bracing for a surge of people to cross the southern border in the wake of the change. So the Biden administration has introduced new restrictions and rules on asylum. It has taken steps to try to deter irregular migration, including temporarily deploying 1,500 soldiers to the U.S.-Mexico border, as well as signing a deal with Mexico on the 2nd of May that will allow the United States to deport non-Mexicans to the country.
Let me be clear. The lifting of the Title 42 public health order does not mean our border is open. The rule presumes that those who do not use lawful pathways to enter the United States are ineligible for asylum. It allows the United States, it allows us to remove individuals who do not establish a reasonable fear of persecution in the country of removal.
Mayorkas said the new rule would mean harsher consequences for illegal border crossers, including a 5-year ban from the U.S. if they do not qualify for asylum. Migrants have been amassing in Mexico this week, and those who have already crossed into the U.S. are straining border cities.
I'm like in limbo. Let's see what happens. I hope to be able to pass to the United States because I have a son there. He's 18 years old, and I want to be with him.
Some migrants have said they are scrambling to enter the country before the new rules come into effect.
This time, we're trying to cross illegally because we previously turned ourselves into the Border Patrol and they didn't process us. They didn't call our contacts and families in the United States. On May 11th, things are about to change. We will no longer be able to enter in the same way. It will be stricter.
Meanwhile, migrants in transit, many of whom climb onto cargo trains, were aiming to reach the border as soon as possible. With these developments, rights activists and local aid workers say it will result in northern Mexico continuing to be a bottleneck for asylum seekers and migrants who seek a better life in the U.S.
The U.S. also is proposing a rule that would generally deny asylum to migrants who have first traveled to another country and then to the United States. And then it also wants to quickly monitor and send the migrants who are not eligible for asylum back and deny them re-entry for 5 years. Now, critics say that the Biden administration should do more first and foremost to secure the border and also provide those border cities with the proper resources in the meantime.
With Susan Tehrani in U.S., WION World is One.
All right, for more on this, we are being joined by Mark Merowitz from New York. Mark is a political commentator and a professor at State University of New York Maritime College. Mark, good to see you. Here we are, Title 42 set to expire. The big question, is the United States prepared for this mega refugee crisis that we're about to witness?
Absolutely not. I mean, the background is, as you've explained, I mean, the Title 42 was put in place in connection with COVID in order to keep people out from, from the United States and prevent the spread of disease. So now with the COVID era restrictions on the federal level ending, the government is saying, well, we'll just end this Title 42. What does it mean? And what it means is a disastrous situation. I mean, Mayorkas, Secretary Mayorkas, who you referred to, had a press conference in which he insisted that the border is not open. But that is not true, because the border is wide open. Interestingly enough, the New York Times reports that Mexico has relaxed its immigration policy. In other words, it's not stopping any migrants from traversing Mexico in the idea that they can make it through to the United States when the border actually opens, in effect, when this new process of Title VIII comes in place. It sounds great that they're going to have these restrictions and that they're going to deport people and they won't be able to come back in 5 years. But the reality is otherwise. The numbers are astonishing. The New York Post cites 1,528,000 people who entered the United States illegally since since Biden took office. I mean, these are staggering numbers. And this policy that they're entering into right now isn't a fix at all. By the way, at the same time, sitting here in New York, we know that the southern states like Texas are actually busing migrants up to New York State because they can't handle the migrants in Texas and the other border states near Mexico. So I think this situation is collapsing as we speak.
There's so much more to talk about. And then you have really, as you mentioned, Alejandro Mayorkas constantly telling us, don't believe your lying eyes, listen to us. We'll see, what happens after Title 42 is expired. No one is benefiting, not the migrants, not the United States. We'll have to see whether Biden administration's policies really do work. Well, thank you, Mark Merowitz, for joining us from New York, as always. And to our viewers, thank you so much for staying with us and watching. That's all from us.